She didn't think she was being scammed. She thought she was saving a man's life. And by the time she realized the truth, she had already sent everything. It started with a message. It felt real, urgent, personal, and completely believable. A man trapped in a crisis, a situation that required immediate help. No time to think, only time to act. And she did. Again, and again, and again. This is a story about trust, about urgency, and about the dangerous moment when helping someone feels more important than protecting yourself. Welcome to When Money Goes Wrong. Real stories, calm clarity, hard lessons. Margaret was 57 years old. She lived a quiet, structured life, the kind of life that doesn't attract attention, but takes decades to build. She had worked for over 30 years as an administrative coordinator in a healthcare company. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, predictable, safe, and that's exactly how she liked it. Every month, she followed the same routine: paid bills, transfer money to savings, review expenses, plan ahead. She didn't take financial risks. She didn't gamble. She didn't invest in anything she didn't fully understand. Her friends often described her in one word: careful. And they meant it as a compliment. Margaret understood something many people ignore. Financial stability isn't built on big wins. It's built on small, consistent decisions. Over time, over years, over decades. By the time she reached her late 50s, she had done everything right. No debt, a growing retirement account, a paid-off car, and enough savings to feel secure. But there was one part of her life that didn't feel complete. Margaret had been divorced for almost 9 years. The separation had been calm. No drama, no major conflict, just distance that slowly turned into permanence. At first, she told herself she enjoyed being alone. And in many ways, she did. She had her routines, her favorite shows, her morning coffee, her weekend grocery trips, her quiet evenings. But over time, something began to change. The silence started to feel heavier. Not painful, not overwhelming, just present. Her son had moved to another state. Her closest friends were busy with their own families. Life had quietly shifted, and without realizing it, Margaret had become more open, more receptive, more willing to connect. That's when the message appeared. It came on a Tuesday evening, around 8:47 p.m. She was sitting on her couch, scrolling casually, half paying attention, half distracted. The message was simple, polite, respectful. "Hello, Margaret. I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I came across your profile and felt like saying hello. There was nothing aggressive about it, nothing suspicious. The profile looked real. A man in his early 60s, well dressed, professional photos, a warm smile. His name was Daniel. According to his profile, he was an engineer working on international infrastructure projects, recently based overseas. Margaret hesitated, just for a moment. Then she replied. The conversation started slowly. Light topics, daily life, work, weather, small details. Daniel was consistent. He replied every morning, every evening, always polite, always attentive. He asked about her day. He remembered things she mentioned. He paid attention. And over time, something subtle began to happen. Margaret started looking forward to his messages, not because they were exciting, but because they were reliable. And reliability creates trust. Weeks passed, then a month. The conversations became deeper, more personal. Daniel shared stories about his work, about traveling, about being alone in a foreign country. Margaret shared her own life, her routines, her past, her quiet loneliness. And without realizing it, a connection formed. Then one night, everything changed. Daniel didn't send his usual message. Hours passed. Margaret noticed. It felt strange, unusual. And then, close to midnight, her phone lit up. A message. But this one felt different. Margaret, I need your help. Margaret, I need your help. She read the message twice. Then a third time. Her chest tightened slightly. This wasn't the usual tone. Something was wrong. She typed back almost immediately. What happened? There was a pause, longer than usual. Then his reply came. I didn't want to tell you this, but I'm in serious trouble. Margaret sat up straighter. Her attention sharpened. What kind of trouble? Another pause. And then, the story began. Daniel explained that he was working on a project overseas, a large infrastructure contract, remote location, limited access to communication. At first, everything sounded normal. Then came the shift. There's been a problem with the project funds. He said there had been a delay, a financial issue, something about paperwork, approvals, local authorities. It sounded complicated, technical, difficult to fully understand. But that's what made it believable. Because real problems are rarely simple. He didn't ask for money. Not yet. He'd only explained the situation. And Margaret listened. Over the next 2 days, the tone of the messages changed. Daniel became more stressed, more anxious. His replies came faster, shorter, less structured. I'm trying to fix this. I didn't expect it to escalate. I don't know who to trust here. Margaret felt something shift inside her. Concern, not suspicion. Concern. And concern is the first emotional door. Then came a subtle but critical detail. I can't involve my company yet. He explained that if the situation became public, he could lose everything. His job, his reputation, his future contracts. I just need a little time to resolve this quietly. Margaret nodded as she read. It made sense. At least, it felt like it did. Then, on the third night, it happened. I hate to ask you this. Margaret's stomach dropped slightly. But I don't have access to my accounts right now. There it was. The moment. The line that changes everything. I just need temporary help. I'll repay you as soon as this is resolved. Margaret didn't reply immediately. For the first time, she hesitated. Her mind split in two directions. One side was logical. This is too sudden. You've never met him. Something doesn't feel right. The other side was emotional. He's been consistent. He's been honest. He trusts you. He needs help. And then came the most dangerous thought of all. What if it's real? Because if it was real, doing nothing would mean abandoning someone in crisis. And Margaret was not the kind of person who abandoned people. How much do you need? She didn't plan to ask that. But she did. Daniel responded quickly, almost instantly. Just $5,000 to resolve the immediate issue. Just a small word, a powerful word, because it makes a large number feel manageable. Margaret looked at her savings account. She had more than that. Much more. She had spent decades building it, protecting it. And now, she was considering using it. Not for herself, but for him. She told herself it was temporary. A loan, not a loss. And that thought made the decision easier. The next morning, Margaret went to the bank. Her hands were steady, but her mind was not. The teller asked routine questions. Purpose of transfer. Margaret paused, then answered carefully. Helping the friend. The transfer went through. $5,000. Gone. Within minutes. Daniel responded. You have no idea what this means to me. Gratitude. Relief. Emotion. I'll never forget this. Margaret felt something unexpected. Warmth. Not fear. Not regret. But validation. She had done something good. And that feeling reinforced the decision. 2 days later, another message. I thought everything would be resolved. Pause. But a new issue came up. Margaret's heart sank. This doesn't make sense. A small voice inside her whispered, but it was quiet and easy to ignore. I just need a bit more to finalize everything. This time, the amount was higher. $12,000. No, just this time. But the pattern was already established. She had helped once, which made it easier to help again. There's a psychological principle at play here. Once we commit to a decision, we feel pressure to stay consistent with it, even if new information suggests we shouldn't. Margaret had already crossed the line. Now, turning back would mean admitting the first decision might have been a mistake, and that's something the human brain resists strongly. Daniel's messages became more intense. I don't know what I would do without you. You're the only person I trust. When this is over, I want to meet you. Future promises. Another powerful hook, because they shift the focus from the present risk to a future reward. Margaret didn't go to the bank this time. She did it online. Faster, less friction. $12,000. Sen. And this time, something felt different. Not enough to stop, but enough to linger. A small doubt, a quiet question, one she wasn't ready to answer yet. The messages didn't stop. They became more frequent, more urgent. Every time one problem seemed resolved, another appeared. A delay, a fee, a document, a restriction. Always something new. Always something that required money. At first, Margaret still questioned it, but the questions became weaker, and the answers became easier to accept, because by now, this wasn't just about money anymore. It was about the connection. Daniel was no longer just someone she was helping. He had become part of her daily life, her routine, her thoughts, her emotional world. She woke up thinking about him. She checked her phone constantly. She waited for his messages. And when they came, they brought relief. And when they didn't, they brought anxiety. That's when the shift becomes dangerous, because the relationship stops being logical and becomes emotional. Then came the message that changed everything. This is the final step. Margaret held her breath as she read. If I can clear this last issue, I can finally leave here. There it was. The promise. The end of the problem. The reward. How much? She asked. The number came quickly. $38,000. This time, there was no softening. No just the number. Heavy. Final. Margaret stared at the screen. Her heart was racing now. This was different. This wasn't manageable. This wasn't small. This was a decision. A real one. The kind that changes everything. Her mind pushed back. This doesn't make sense. You've already sent so much. What if this is not real? But the emotional voice was louder. You can't stop now. You're so close to helping him. He needs you. And then, the most dangerous thought returned. What if this is the last step? Margaret opened her banking app. Her savings were still there. Years of discipline, years of sacrifice, years of careful decisions, all sitting in one place. And now, she was about to move it. Not all, but enough to change her life. She didn't go to the bank. She didn't ask anyone. She didn't stop. She just did it. $38,000. Sen. At first, everything seemed normal. Daniel responded, "You did it. Everything is going to be okay now." Relief. For both of them. Or at least, that's how it felt. But then, something changed. The replies slowed, then stopped. Hours passed. Then a day. Then two. Margaret sent messages. No response. She called. No answer. Her chest tightened. That quiet feeling returned. But this time, it wasn't loneliness. It was fear. She opened his profile. Still there. But something felt different. She looked closer. The photos. She had seen them before. Not in his messages. Somewhere else. A reverse image search. A simple step. One she had never taken before. And then, the truth appeared. The photos belonged to someone else. A real person. A different name. A different life. Margaret felt the air leave her lungs. Her hands went cold. Her mind struggled to process it. No. She whispered it. Quietly. As if saying it softer might make it untrue. But it didn't. Act 33. Counting the loss. She opened her bank account. And for the first time, she looked at the numbers differently. $5,000. $12,000. $38,000. More small transfers in between. Fees. Emergency costs. Final steps. Total. $68,000. Bon. Act 34. The silent damage. But the money was only part of the loss. Because what hurt more was the realization she hadn't just lost money. She had lost trust in someone else and in herself, because this wasn't just a scam. It was a system, a carefully built sequence. First, connection, then trust, then urgency, then isolation, and finally, financial action. Step by step, emotion by emotion, decision by decision. Scams like this don't work because people are careless. They work because people care, because they want to help, because they believe in others, because they choose trust over suspicion. And in the wrong situation, those qualities can be used against them. Margaret didn't tell many people what happened. Not at first, because shame is part of the damage. But over time, she began to understand something important. This could happen to anyone, at the right moment, under the right circumstances, with the right story. And the next time you feel urgency, the next time someone asks for help, the next time a decision feels emotional instead of logical, pause. Because sometimes the most dangerous situations don't feel dangerous at all. This is when money goes wrong. Real stories, calm clarity, hard lessons,